the great sound of sugar there.
Speaking of too good, what about some of those calls?
Mate, I think we know what he spent his little holiday period doing, just writing down anything, any reference he could to Vegas there. I believe, Tourist, you said that at one point he said it's a sin bin in Sin City.
Yeah, it was one of Joel's best for Joe Tappaney's sending off.
Excellent.
Sin bin there. It was...
How did that not make your highlights reel, mate?
I know, I'm sorry. A busy day, you know.
Busy day. It has been a busy day. Big start to the Raiders season. Ricky feeling vindicated. He basically said that the media had written him off.
Mm-hmm.
And look, full disclosure, you and I, as minor members of the media,
very, very minor.
Yeah, well, on a technicality, I think, and we actually did. I think both you and I suggested that the Warriors were going to win this one in a close game. Absolutely had their pants pulled down, the Warriors. What did you make of the game, mate?
Unbelievable. You knew straight away the Raiders certainly had a game plan to come up and try and I think it was a lot to do with the size of the pitch as well. They were offload happy. It was something like 11-3 offloads at halftime and finished with a huge disparity the same. I think they finished with 16 or 17 or something. So you knew they'd come with a clear game plan to try and move it around, to maybe create that space that otherwise wouldn't have been there on that narrower pitch. And didn't it work for them?
Oh, mate,
the Wires got nowhere near them.
And you know what else is it? Speed to burn in that Raiders side. That is like, if you're watching that and you're, say, the Gold Coast Titans, who've got they're another side with speed to burn. You're watching that in your Desi, you go, okay, there's a game plan that can potentially work.
Excuse me.
So yeah, sorry, I threw to you exactly the wrong time. But from the start they were dominant. Ricky was I think he feels like they made a statement. He felt vindicated. He had a little bit of this to say after the game.
Mate, two things I'll say. I said it on the Fox, and there's more tongue-in-cheek because you guys all do write us off, which I don't mind. It's easy for me then. But it's going to be a good competition if we come last, like a lot of you are expecting. It's going to be a tough comp. But no, 100%, we came here to make a statement.
Oh, I love that from Stick.
Yeah, no one rides the emotion better than Ricky Stuart.
He was almost visibly emotional in that. He mentioned speaking on Fox League pretty much straight after the game. They had him on the desk there, and it was visible emotion from Ricky. So part of it may be to do with the off-field stuff throughout the week, but it was clear that they had really built up that game. They had a clear game plan. They executed it to absolute perfection. The one. And this has been probably the query, I guess, on the Raiders and Ricky as a coach in the last few years, but it's worked, is he's an emotion guy.
Yeah.
They won a lot of close games last year. Can you sustain that level of emotion for, it's a 30-week season or whatever it is, the best part of? That's the one question mark. And the Warriors didn't really throw or fire one shot at the Raiders. So they had a few things go their way, which is fine. That happens in footy. The test for them is when it's not going their way, do they have the minerals to really to knuckle down and sustain a lot of pressure? Yeah,
and that is the question. Because like you said, they had a game plan. They were able to stick to it, but their game plan wasn't really challenged at any point through.
No.
The Wires didn't really throw anything in particular at them that would get them off that game plan. If, say, for example, you're playing against the Penrith, who I get reminded on the text line very often that for the last 5 years, they've had the top defence in the NRL. How long are they going to be able to keep throwing things at that defence and be able to, stick to that game plan before they get frustrated or start to, make mistakes, which is going to happen, especially with that level of emotion. Because like you said, round one, it's very easy for Ricky to be in there going, okay, boys, we've got to make a statement. They've all written us off. Did you hear Barney and the coal miner? They both said the Wars were going to win. Listen to this. This is a bit of them on the Mowers Club, right? That sort of stuff.
That mini part of the media that you were discussing before. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but then 18 weeks in, you that's not going to motivate players the same as it does round one.
Exactly.
In Vegas,
big occasion with a bit of off-field mayonnaise on top. So it really was, backs to the wall. The absolute just the epitome of what Ricky would have wanted going into the game.
Would you say siege mentality?
Siege mentality, absolutely. Tell you what though, on the flip side, so as good as the Raiders were, gee, the Warriors. Now I know, like, we've gone through 3 weeks of trial matches, and we all say only trial form, so let's not get too far away. It's only one game, but they've got some stuff to work out really, really quickly as well to turn around. It looks like they didn't know who was really running the show. Chanel Harris-Tavita, Luke Metcalf. It looked a different game plan than what they had when we saw Luke Metcalf's first game with the 7 jersey in a trial match. Again, only trial, but they basically shared the sort of general play kicking duties. I think it finished 9 apiece or something like that. And you look at the receipts, so the pass receipts of both those players, dead split, 50 receipts each. There was no dominant sort of chief out there, and you could tell.
What struck me early too is in that game was how often I was listening on the radio and how often Sugar was saying Mitch Barnett's name. And I think at one point, Joel even said, like, it's like he's playing a number 6 role, like he's playing first receiver. So it was that was an odd role even.
And 403 has 403? No, 203. You got to give us your name. Geez, no wonder Ricky dislikes the media. Still no credit, saying the Wars didn't challenge them. The Wars had more tackles in the 20-metre zone than the Raiders. They tried to challenge but outplayed them. Yeah, no, I don't think we're saying that they didn't really challenge them. And that stat's a big one. So the Warriors had the 32 play the balls in that red zone, really sort of strong on in attack. 32. Raiders only had 13. So when it was down their end, they did sustain it. Again, there was a couple of times the Warriors were just trying to shift it wide, and I think that's where the pitch really had an impact in the Warriors in attack. And they come up with an intercept from one of those plays as well. So just one game, the absolutely tipping my hat to the Raiders with what they did. The question is, how does it go? 24 games in a season, but the Warriors have got a lot to fix.
Oh yeah,
quickly.
certainly. And yeah, like, I don't want to say like we're taking away from the Raiders there. They clearly outclassed them. Their defence was exceptional. I think that's what we were more saying. Like, their defence didn't look tested in the way that would reflect in those stats. Raiders are without captain Joe Tarpany next week after a shoulder charge on Mitch Barnett. They'll be hosting the Broncos down in Canberra in week 2.
Yeah, just quickly on Mitch Barnett. So I think he was named jersey 10, moved to 13. Lose so much when he's playing that ball-playing lock role. You need him eyes spinning in the back of his head, one job only with Fisher Harris, and that's running straight and running hard. Dylan Walker and Aaron Clark on the bench now. There's your 13s.
Yeah, you would have thought so. Mitch Barnett, his best role is in that front row, and then that's an intimidating front row.
Yes.
When you got those two, the Bash brothers, as they were being called. That's right. Penrith Panthers getting the chocky over the Cronulla Sharks at Allegiant Stadium in the second game, and it really was just okay. We finished 2024, but let's just do it all over. It was like we'd hit pause and we just started again.
If there was one team in the history of rugby league, certain recent times anyway, that you'd forgive for maybe having a little slow start to the year. Cleary's hardly had a pre-season. Dylan Edwards hardly had a pre-season. The list probably goes on. They were out without Brian Toto. You've just lost Jerome Luai. You've lost James Fisher-Harris. And from the get-go, it was just 110 miles an hour. The exact Penrith that we've grown to, I won't say love, because it can be quite annoying sometimes when you're not a Panthers fan. But they're just unbelievable. Their line speed. I don't know who their fitness, strength, conditioning team is, but they need to win some sort of award themselves because they're by far the fittest team in the comp. You can see that round one, the line speed is just unbelievable. Their kick chase, they just do all the tiny things perfect, and then off the back of it, they make their own luck.
That's it. And you think, like, every year you look at the guys that have left the Panthers and you think, well, they're not going to be able to replace that. Like, this year, the one that really I thought would make a big difference is James Fisher-Harris, just a guy that dominant. And you realise then you hear that Isaiah Yeo in the back row. Like, you're like, oh, no, they've got forwards and backs that can that can really make a difference.
Moses Leota, enormous.
Yeah.
So Fisher Harris, his partner in crime leaves. It felt like he just almost not a point to prove because he doesn't, have one or need to prove one. But it just felt like it stepped up a notch. And then Lindsay Smith, he was enormous. Liam Martin is just a freak as well. Like he just hits the go button. He's got the biggest amount of white line fever in the game. Just turns into a complete lunatic. And you saw, and it gets the better of teams as well. That offensive penalty when Ronaldo took umbrage to something in a tackle that Liam Martin had sprinted about 80 metres to make, gets the penalty when it felt like there was a bit of just a momentum shift in the game potentially. And those, if you give the Panthers an inch, as we've seen the last 4 years, give them an inch and they'll take 100 miles. You can't turn the ball over to them in good field position because they'll just make you pay time after time. And the reference to Copperfield, move over Copperfield, that little kick from Cleary, we already know how good he is, but that was just tonight. Tungo didn't break stride.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like Will Kennedy was massively out of position either. He was in the frame, but just put a little kick in on an absolute dime, just out of nothing really. They're unbelievable.
What did you make of Jack Cole in the sixth, mate? Certainly didn't do anything that brought your attention. Like, okay, he's not ready. He looked out of place, but then at the same time, you're playing sort of second fiddle to Nathan Cleary.
But that's exactly what you need from your number six. He's not going to be Jerome Luai, certainly not straight off the bat. Anyway, he might certainly warm into having a more dominant part. But when you got Cleary just running left and running right, you see the little sneaky. Is he going left? Mitch Kenny will look that way, but then you see Cleary out the back just fanging it around the other way. Like, you just need eyes on. It was a little bit like teams were sort of learning to defend Newcastle because all you had to do was just look where Kalen Ponga's head gear went. Yeah. And it does sound easy to say, but I think while Jack Cole maybe is still finding his feet, because it felt certainly early days, it might feel the way that Luai was more of a threat. You just got to look where Cleary's going. If he's going right, you've got to smash that side of the field.
Do you think this is the most important year of the last sort of 4 or 5 years for Cleary to be healthy, for them to keep him on the field? Because he hasn't, I think it was 13 games last year. He was injury interrupted the year before. Like, he hasn't really got through a whole season in a few where he hasn't been off the field. And in general, they've been able to cover that. Like through the Origin period, for example, it'll be interesting to see what their halves combination looks like and what they're able to produce without him there. Because you're right, you don't have Jerome Luai.
But again, during that period, they were missing both those guys anyway with Luai and Origin duty. It's just unbelievable. And the fact that he has missed so much footy, he's probably due for a bit of a clean year injury-wise, which is just. I mean, if he's fully fit the whole year, how are they not right thereabouts with that style of play? They don't beat themselves. They will just strangle and strangle and strangle, and then you'll make a mistake that you wouldn't make against other teams. There was a couple of big moments like not finding touch from a relieving penalty as well. Absolute cardinal sin against anyone, but against Penrith, that you've got being gifted field position, and then to turn the ball over without having a crack at them. Nico dropped it from the kickoff as well. Again, you're just giving them. I think they might have got the ball back after that one, but there's just you can't turn over the ball in that sort of field position and think you're going to get away with it.
Do you think that with just turning to Cronulla a little bit here, I think we both said before this game that this is a game they needed to sort of lay down a marker to get that monkey off their back that they can't beat the top sides. And this was if you take this performance compared to the preliminary final performance they put in that finished their season last year against Panthers, but still do you think? And I don't want to read too much into it. Like we say, we're one round in. I don't want to read too much into it. But do you think there's starting to be this idea that maybe in the big games, their dominant players don't step up when they're needed, or do you think it's just a Penrith thing?
Well, I think it's just how good the Panthers are. I think that's what it is. But then again, the rugby league, a lot of it's played above the shoulders. Yeah. And when it starts to creep in, it can really creep in. But I don't think if you're a Sharkies supporter, I don't think you walk away feeling, too put off with still to score 22 points against the best defensive team that we've seen in the last 5 years. As old mate keeps on,
keeps letting us know.
Best defence in the last 5 years. it's not a bad performance. And again, if they take out those little unforced errors, and Penrith they force a lot of errors themselves, but there was a few that were unforced. So they take those out, they're right in the game. And it was 2 points up until the last.
That's the thing. It was.
And they had a red hot crack right at the end. If Ramian maybe just, I'm not saying he could have passed it, but if he may have just looked right, there might have been a ball there too. I think that was Stone Street on his outside, and then it looked like Alamotti lost the ball with about 40 seconds to go, maybe 30 metres out, but it got Ashley Klein just called play on.
Mm.
You know, little moments in games have a big impact.
Yeah, and when I suppose when things are going your way or going against you, like that, those are the things that when this Panthers side are on tend to go their way.
Yeah.
It's like a dominant side tends to end up with the 50-50 calls and the bit of the luck for that reason.
Comparing the first game, Raiders Warriors, to this one, like huge gap in between. Like this is they're going to be right there at the end of the year.
Yeah, this is kind of, you look at that performance from the Sharks, and I get the feeling that performance will beat most of the comp most of the time. So it's just the case. Like you know, at some point though, they are going to have to beat the Panthers.
You would think so. Yeah, you can't just hope that someone else is going to knock them off. The other thing, to lose any player, I suppose, so early in a game is a big impact. But you wouldn't have even noticed that that McLean got ruled out so early with the HIA. Dane Laurie comes on, they don't miss a beat, scores a double. They're so well oiled that we probably all should have seen this coming.
Yeah, exactly. But plenty of positives to come out of the Sharks. Will Kennedy saved the 40-20. I thought he had a good game. Jesse Ramian, as you said, had a great early try. Braden Trindle looked good.
Yep.
Playing alongside Nico, looked really good. And Adam Fanua-Blake scoring on his debut. I think this is a Cronulla side that was good, but I reckon they've still got plenty of room to grow into this season.
I think he himself admitted after the game, speaking to, I think it was Lara Pitt on Fox, that he, was a little, probably not underdone, but he certainly felt it will be better for this run. But I think it's not all doom and gloom for the Sharkies, it's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. People getting involved. Brian on the text line. Remember, Panthers played with a 3-man bench. Yeah. We're not underselling the Panthers.
You said that, did I?
Yeah, I think you did. No, maybe he's just saying remember.
That's true.
Don't forget it now you've said it. And the Panthers still have Brian Toto and Blaise Talangi to return. So
scary stuff.
You're still here? We'll see more on the Joel and Fletch socials and catch us live on SEN Radio. Because if you don't, you're an A grade. But if you do, you're the absolute Mickey.